All listeners, stand by for the Caffeine Lifts and Public Assist podcast.
All right, Caffeine Lifts, Public Assist,
Adam and Adam.
and we got Scott here. Scott, give us an introduction.
Well, I'm Scott. I retired from fire service about 5 years ago. I started in the 1980s.
Wow.
Hard to believe.
Okay, before
I
I
was
was
the
born.
last one working for my department that had been hired in the 80s. Now, when I say working in the 80s, I started as a reserve in 89, right at the end of 89.
Wow.
So hired full-time in 93 and worked for Turlock Fire for, all said and done, almost 31 years. So.
Were you there when they bought that open cab that they turned into the hazmat? Were you there when that was bought new?
No, I'm not that old.
I don't know. I didn't know how old that one was.
I'm trying to think.
You're a jerk.
I always ask the guys that have been there for a while.
I'm trying to. I think that was. Well, actually, I think that it might have been the year before. I think it was in '88.
So it was right there.
Yeah.
So it's still new when
It was
you got
shiny.
it.
Yeah. Some of those things you just kind of forget. Yeah.
Dang.
I haven't thought about that in a long time.
I did a ride. I don't know if you remember this. I did a ride along with you and Reeves. I don't know, it's probably 10 years ago at least now, but at 32, I was, and you were his captain at the time, right? Like that was
Yeah.
your crew.
Yeah.
Yeah.
That was my crew for a long time.
Yeah. That guy's still kicking.
I know. Well,
still around.
I must have made an impression on you. I mean,
Yeah. No, I remember who you were for sure. He was like, Wejmar should come on. He's starting his thing. And I'm like, yeah, we'd love to have him talk to a retired fire guy.
And you can say whatever you want now.
Yeah. You can talk anything you want.
Yeah. Oh yeah. Yeah. I'm retired. I grew a beard.
Yeah. You do look different with the beard for sure.
When you work and they tell you can't do something, I grow a beard. As soon as I retired, I
Immediately.
told my wife, I'm going to grow a long
Yeah.
beard. I had a long one, but now it's short.
Trimmed it up.
How
So,
long?
Yeah. Well, it was during COVID. I retired right before COVID, so
Oh, yeah.
no one was getting haircuts.
It's like
Yeah.
the same time my dad retired. It was
So-
at COVID,
Yeah,
2020.
yeah. So my it was down. Oh, I don't know. It was probably down.
Down to your chest.
Yeah,
Wow.
close. Yeah.
That probably
Yeah.
felt so good.
Well, I got sick though, so
Oh.
I had COVID, and I have pictures of me with just looking haggard with this long beard, and I just look completely scary and haggard. So, yeah. In fact, my driver's license has that look. In fact, that's where I think I got COVID. I went to the DMV, and they made you take your mask off to take a picture.
Yeah.
And it was like
That's where you got it.
It was within a week I was sick. So.
I just got my passport. I'd never had it before. I just got it. I think we went 2 or 3 weeks ago. Took a picture. I had my long hair. I just cut my hair. It was down to my below the collar. I got the passport picture. It's that. I'm like, do I have to retake this picture? Are they going to let me
No,
in?
they're not going to let you in. You're
And
done.
she
You're
looked it
getting
up.
Probed.
Dude, I'm for
at the
sure
airport.
going to get inspected at the airport.
The Vegas is in you.
They
Yeah.
might make you retake it.
She looked it up and was like, if you cut your hair, it's fine. People cut their hair all the time. But there was some stuff.
It's pretty dramatic.
It's a very dramatic change.
Yeah.
I'm going to risk it.
I think you should risk it for the best.
For sure going to risk it. Just get turned around and
They'll let you
Copenhagen.
through. Yeah.
Maybe not on the way back.
Yeah.
There's
I
a
don't
chance.
know. You'll be fine. So what's your podcast that you're doing?
Well, I'm going to plug that now. Well, actually,
You can plug it multiple times.
I've bit off more than I can chew. I've been threatening a podcast for like 4 years. Back when I was working at Station 3 and I had horrible insomnia, I got into listening to podcasts. And I've always been a fan of the paranormal, especially ghosts. So I found this podcast that I liked where people just call in their stories, their true stories, to an answering machine. I thought it was a brilliant idea. This guy, Derek, he plays the calls and he talks about them briefly. And so I've been digging this podcast now for, I don't know, almost 8 years.
Still going.
I've been threatening to do something similar. So all my life, whenever someone has told me a ghost story, which I always solicit, when I get to know you, got any creepy stories? I've mentally filed these stories or I've written them down.
Yeah.
So I'm going to call it the Ghost Collector, and I'm going to be using voice actors and telling the stories myself and soliciting stories.
Nice.
So that's my first one.
Are you going to do like the method that your podcast you listen to?
Well,
I'm
I'm afraid of
read them
straight
yourself.
copying the guys.
Yeah.
So I'm going to read them myself. I'm going to use voice actors. I've
Yeah.
already recorded a few.
Okay.
And then I have a friend who is a bona fide psychic, believe it or not. She has worked for the Modesto Police Department under the table, helping to solve crimes.
Interesting.
She's the real deal.
Interesting.
And so I've known this lady for like 30 years. And every time I see her, she tells me these bone-chilling stories.
Crazy
So
stories.
she's actually going to be on my show. She's going to tell a story on each episode.
Nice.
So
Wow.
I've been recording those too. So
That's cool. Are you doing it? Do you have like your own little studio, or are you going? You were saying your buddy has a
friend
studio?
of mine has a studio. He's got a Chicago Bears podcast. Him and his buddy are big Chicago Bears fans. So they have a setup, and they're going to produce me. In fact, they're starting a podcast production company.
That's cool.
So
Is it local?
It's in Delhi.
Delhi?
I've yet to see it, but I'm been writing and getting ready, and hopefully we'll be recording here imminently.
Nice. That's really cool.
And then I got to plug the other one. This one, I'm actually more excited about the second one. And it's crazy that I'm already looking at a second one. So I'm a historian for the city of Turlock. I do Turlock fire history.
Yeah.
I've been doing that for, 25, 30 years now. And so that's bled into an overall like love of all things Turlock history. And I've worked hand in hand with the Historical Society. And it's pleasant and all, and what they put out is nice. They put out these nice stories. I want to tell the dark stories.
Yeah. The
So-
real history.
So that one's going to be called Turlock Unburied, and it's going to be the murders, the unsolved murders, the ghost stories, the local legends, the
Yeah.
local haunts, just the downright weird stories. So I've been digging deep, and we're going back like 120 years.
Yeah, yeah.
So there are some
That's
crazy
cool.
stories in our past.
I bet there is.
What's the most recent one? Like year-wise. You don't have to tell me the actual story.
Well,
You're probably saving it.
there's the whole. I want to be respectful
Yeah.
of people that are still alive.
Yeah.
And there's some stories that I want to tell that happened in the 50s, and those people are still around.
Oh, wow.
There was a car crash on the way to graduation day. A carload of seniors was struck, and I think 4 of the graduating seniors were killed
Oh, wow.
on the way to Turlock High to graduate.
To graduation. Wow.
Yeah. Well, the one guy that survived, he's still around.
Yeah.
And I want to respect that. I don't want to sensationalize that. So I have
Yeah.
to go back a long ways, but there are a couple unsolved ones. There's one, it ties to fire. I think it was in 1977 or 78 over on the west side. There was a fire, structure fire. Turlock Fire showed up. Captain went in and put the fire out and found his nephew burned to death inside a closet.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, and as far as I know, that is still unsolved. And there's some real interesting details, like
Wow.
they said, well, he was a pilot, so he must have poured aviation fuel all over and started this fire. Well, they tested it; it wasn't aviation fuel. And anyway, it goes from there. And the crazy thing is, it was a house that I spent time in. My uncle lived in the house about 4 years before that,
Oh, dang.
so I take a little interest in that.
Yeah,
because
for
that
sure.
little personal connection. So
You did a good job there. You know what you just did? You got me hooked.
You wrapped
but
him in.
But then you're like, but you're going to have to wait for that podcast to come
Yeah,
out.
you got
to
him
hear
in there.
everything. So now I'm going to be sitting here just waiting. Be like, you got to tell that story first. I got to hear that story.
yeah, I've dug up a lot of good ones. I can sit down and dig deep, and
All right.
I'm looking forward to sharing some. Turlock's got some crazy dark history, like,
I'm sure.
like 6-person murders and
I'm sure.
Yeah.
yeah, crazy stuff.
What's your most memorable 33 ghost story?
Ooh,
Because we all know that place is haunted.
yeah. In fact, I heard some new ones yesterday. I heard some updates that blew my
Really?
mind. I mean, one was so phenomenal. I'm keeping that to myself for right now. But I honestly
You
think
gotta listen to that
I-
episode too.
I,
Brett.
I honestly think that
Just a bunch of cliffhangers around here.
it could break big. It could bring out a whole new way of ghost hunting with what this person told me how he witnessed a ghost. But
I'm terrified now.
my most
I have overtime coming up.
I don't want to go there.
well, I was hired in '93. Had an old captain, Dennis Vegeta. Love him to death.
Yeah, I met him a couple years ago actually.
Yeah, he's actually gonna work with me on some of my my podcasts. Anyway, he told me right away, Station 3, it's the nightmare station. I said, what? He said, it's the nightmare station. Everybody who works there has vivid, crazy nightmares. Well, sure enough, as soon as I started working there, it was the vivid, crazy nightmares.
Really?
Which is crazy by itself. But yeah, one night I woke up. Well, first I got to preface this by, for some strange reason, The three of us working there that night were all sleeping on the same side, 3 beds in a row. I don't know why. I don't remember what the reason was.
It was barracks back then?
Well, there was the wall down the middle. There were 3 beds on one side, 3 beds on the other side. The wall wasn't solid. There weren't doors.
It's like a partition.
Ends. It was just a partition. And then there was the captain's hall. I was in the first bed when you walk in from the day room. The captain, Captain Huber, was in the next bed. And then we had a sleeper named Chris. He was in the third bed. We were all sitting there reading, all had our light lamps on. Huber's holding his book up. I look over, and he's snoring, but he's got his arms straight up in the air. He's so muscle bound. I don't know if you know Tim.
I don't think
he's
I've
so
met
muscle
him.
bound. He's snoring. I thought he was making a joke because this ties into the story. So I just laugh. I turn my light off. I go to bed. I wake up sometime later with the greatest fear I've ever felt. I turn my head. I look up. There's this white skeleton face right in my face.
Dude,
I
gave
mean,
me
it looked
chills
like
immediately.
it looked like something out of a horror movie. It had I had a veil. It looked feminine, deep holes where the eye sockets were. I mean, it looked like a skull. And I mean, I was like, I look over and I could see Huber now. Now his book is down on his chest, like his arms had come down.
Uh-huh.
So I knew I wasn't dreaming. I looked back up and then it just took off. It just flittered away. And yeah, that
Yikes.
was. The crazy thing is the firefighter I talked to yesterday who has the stories, he had the exact same experience
Really?
in the same bed.
Really?
Yeah. 25 years later.
And
Wow.
now, is this going to kind of tie into your history of like the city of Turlock? Because
Yes.
there's got to be a
Oh, yes.
reason
Yeah, there's something under that
Yes.
it's a
station.
burial ground or something.
Yes.
Okay.
I heard a rumor, or I heard a story that somebody showed up to the fire station within the last year or so and was talking to the captain on duty about how the whole neighborhood is haunted.
Really?
Yeah. But I have yet to reach out to that captain to try to get more information about what's that all about. Fujita, he always swore it was built on an Indian burial ground. Other guys thought, well, it's the power station next door. It's
That's
messing
fair
with-
too.
Messing with your brain. Yeah.
Just getting
And then,
microwaved the entire time.
And then, actually on my last day on duty, I brought my psychic friend to the station.
Oh, did you?
Oh,
Yeah, I've been wanting to get her there, and I really just dragged my feet. And I finally invited her over. And
Yeah.
she didn't know it was my last day. She walked in, and the guys had put balloons all over the floor, and she's like, "Oh, what's going on?" And I said, "It's my last day." So she tuned in, and she definitely felt 2 spirits that go, they go through the walls, male and female. I forget some of the details. I wrote it down, but as she's sitting there talking to us, boom, one of the balloons just explodes. And we all just looked, and she's like, they're mad at me, So,
Yeah, she's probably interrupting their energy.
take
and stuff
that
in
for
there.
what you will. But
Wow.
yeah, so
I-
to answer your question about Turlock, and I stop and think, well, what's the most haunted place in Turlock? And there's a house that I've heard about for my whole life. But then I stop and think, no, Station 3.
I've heard
Station
a
3.
lot of stories.
33's got to be
I've heard a
the
lot
most
of
haunted
stories.
place in
And you got
Turlock.
a lot of people that you can talk to that have stayed there overtime, whatever,
Yeah.
that you could talk to about their stories.
Yeah, even the non-believers that were, these gruff old captains I worked with they were convinced.
Yeah.
Yeah, they wouldn't tell stories.
I've had a couple. No, it wasn't not the firehouse, but here at my house. Like I've had a couple. I think I told you about them.
Some spoopy stories.
Some just like little girl or whatever, like in my house and stuff. Like I don't know what it was about. I had a few very vivid dreams. Same little girl in my house.
Ooh.
I really can't tell you too much detail because I try to bury that in the back of my head. It freaked me out for the longest time.
Yeah.
But
Okay.
those were the ones I have a friend, Christy. She's like, she's super into all that stuff. So when I was telling her, she was like, she got like, what do you call it? Incense or whatever. It's sage.
Sage. Yeah.
So she saged the house
She
and
smudged
stuff.
the house.
Yeah. And honestly, after she did that, I think that was after the second time I finally told her. And then I haven't had anything since. But and this was years ago. It was right after I moved into the house. And so I had those dreams. I had like 2 or 3 times a little girl. And then after that, nothing. So that was like my first time, like, because I never believed in it. And then that happened. And then she saged it. And then it went away. And I was like, okay,
Ooh,
maybe
there's
there's something
yeah.
here.
Well, you know what I'm going to do?
Yeah.
I'm going to figure out what happened here.
Yeah. Let me know.
Yeah, because I can look up the address on the the system I have for looking up old
Oh, nice.
articles. Yeah, it's
I'll shoot you his
yeah.
address.
I know.
I'm curious.
I know that the previous owner, he did pass away in the house, but not like violently. He just died in his sleep. He was just really old.
Did he have a little girl?
I don't know, but here's a funny story. Okay, here's a funny story. All right, so my house, when I moved in, I lived there for 2 years, and then I decided, oh, you know what? I'm gonna look up Megan's Law.
Yeah.
And so I look up on Megan's Law, and like obviously it gives you the expanded view first. And I was like, oh, there's somebody like in the area. I zoom in. I'm like, there's somebody in the neighborhood. I zoom all the way in. It's my house. I've been living there for 2 years, and my house is registered under Megan's Law. So I'm like, what is happening? So
Did someone see your mustache or what?
no, I didn't have a mustache. Okay, this is temporary. So I hit up the chief of police that just happened to be my dad.
It just worked out that way.
It's pretty convenient.
He told, I know. No. It's actually really funny. So, so I hit him up. He says, it sounds like you got to contact the DOJ. And so I sent an email to the DOJ saying I've lived in this house for 2 years. It shows this dude, Richard, as a offender. And the funniest part about it, and I'm going to summarize what this email said, but it basically said, from the DOJ sent back to me and says, sounds like your local law enforcement isn't doing their job.
I just called your dad out
to my dad, and he says, okay, we'll handle it. The guy ended up turning himself in. He lived with his aunt, didn't want his aunt's house registered. And so he just left it there. And whoever owned that house, this guy, is just an idiot and didn't check that. So that's something.
That's not the first thing I would think of checking.
No,
I mean, now
no.
maybe, but
Yeah. So
for sure.
Anyway, to relate that back to the little girl, guy was a sex offender.
Ooh.
I'm just curious.
Ooh.
if something, yeah.
Yeah. That's the only, that was the only thing. And I had these dreams in the first 2 years before I looked all that up. So then I started putting that together, which is just me.
Conspiracy
Just
theorying
being
it up.
conspiracy
Well, yeah,
theorist.
yeah,
And then I
yeah.
didn't look into it any further because I was like, I don't want to
Yeah.
know.
Sometimes you don't want to know.
I don't want to know.
Yeah, that's
but
true
I've
too.
tilled up that backyard quite a bit.
It's true. You have. We've dug in that backyard fairly deep,
So I don't think there's anything
and the
there.
front yard.
And
so,
the front yard.
Yeah. Who was your crew that last day you worked?
Oh, good question. I worked with Mike Reeves, my buddy Mike, and then my firefighter, Nick Grillo.
Grillo.
Yeah.
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 Oh.
I when you asked me, I was
Redhead.
thinking about the
Redhead?
I was
Yeah,
thinking about in the morning when the crew that came in, because I stayed on the engine for like another hour, and then they drove me home because I had, they had picked me up the day before.
Oh, that's cool.
So
That's
I
cool.
was in my brain. I was thinking of that other crew, but no, it was Mike and Nick, which are
Yeah.
like brothers.
Yeah, that's awesome. You still talk to Nick?
I do. We've been trying to get together. He works for a different department now.
Yeah.
He lives in Oakland.
Yeah.
So
he moved out there too.
Oh, wow.
yeah. So
Nice.
The big boy
hopefully
money.
we'll get together one of these days.
I hear you do coffee with Jason still.
I have a big coffee group.
Yeah, I was
Yes.
talking to him yesterday, and
Yes.
he was like, "Oh, I heard Weimer's coming on your podcast tomorrow." I was like, "Yeah, when you coming on to the podcast?"
No, there's a rotating group of about a dozen guys, probably. Police and fire.
correct me if I'm wrong. Josh is part of that too.
Yes.
Rural.
Okay.
Yeah. Baldhead.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Yeah, he's probably the main guy. He's
Is he
down
still as grumpy as always?
there. No,
I hope
no,
you're listening.
No,
I hope you're
no.
listening, Josh.
No, he's someone else asked me that once, but I don't see that. No, we have a good talk.
I actually ran into him a couple weeks ago at like In-N-Out Burger. He talked to him for him and his wife for a minute.
We used to hang out a lot. He was hilarious. So
He was so
always,
funny.
Yeah, it's always fun.
I love that guy.
I just haven't
No.
seen him forever.
It's a real mix of local and out of town department.
Nice.
Guys that live in Turlock. So.
Yeah, that's cool. That's cool. You guys do that.
So now that you've been retired for 5 years,
5 years.
Five. Yeah, I'm trying to do math.
Well, I'm almost 5.5. Yeah.
Yeah. What is, if any, advice to guys that got like 20 something years left?
Some guys with a lot of time left.
What's funny? Yesterday I was reading a Reddit thread. Some newer firefighter had posted about how his sleep was just suffering. He only had 2 years in. He was asking about, how do I deal with this for the next 25 years? Well, I didn't have an answer. That was my problem. My issue was sleep.
Yeah.
Find a way to get your rest. That's my thing. I was miserable. That's the only reason I left, was because my sleep was so screwed up.
Expand on that. Why was it screwed up? Was it because of the calls, or just because you couldn't get your sleep
I
down?
knew I never really put it together. That could have been station 3, but I just, it was 48 hours of tossing and turning, sleeping for 20 minutes at a time. So
How about at home? How was your
home
sleep?
was fine.
Okay.
Home was fine.
So it's almost like the anxiety of like possibly having to run a call or whatever. You think you're going to get woken up. Anything like that? Could it possibly be any of that?
I think it could have been.
And it's like a bad thing to admit, right? Because you're like, but it shouldn't be. It's almost like I wasn't scared of the calls. It's just that's my job is to be ready.
You were going to get deep into sleep.
And to be thinking about it.
After 25 years, when the problem really started, or even a little sooner than that, I'd seen it and done it all. I'll be honest, I was tired of getting up at night. It used to be I didn't mind. I got a job that made me stay up all night, a lot of nights, and I would look back and think, why did I do that? I hate being up at night.
Yeah.
But no, just it was my insomnia got really bad. It was miserable. So, finding a way to deal with that, I think, is important for guys, and knowing what they're getting into, and hopefully you have a department that allows you to get your rest.
Yeah.
And that was what the Reddit thread got into is departments that were cool with getting your naps in, and departments that no, you're not allowed to do that. You're not allowed to get rest.
Did you sleep better when you and Mike were at 32?
I slept a little better.
A little slower.
At 32. It was slower.
Yeah.
In fact, funny story was before I worked with Mike, I worked with a guy named Andrew. I worked with him for 5.5 years, and we had one run. I think it was about 1.5 years where we only ran a total of 5 night calls.
Oh, that's
in a year and a half.
So
in a year and a
awesome.
half.
That's awesome.
It was epic. It was absolutely epic.
That is awesome.
Yeah, and I think 2 of them were like we were canceled en route, so it was
Dude,
unbelievable.
that's
I don't know that there's
incredible.
ever
It's a Christmas miracle.
for a department our size and the amount of calls we had at the time.
Yeah.
I don't know if there's ever been a run like that. So it was. I got spoiled. I got so spoiled that I would just go to bed thinking that I'm going to sleep all night, and I normally did. And I did.
Yeah.
How are you doing now with your sleep?
When I retired, I talked to a guy that had retired, a battalion chief retired maybe 8 years earlier, and he told me, "Oh yeah, it takes about 3 years before your sleep gets back to normal." And he was right.
Really?
It took about 3 years. Yeah. So it's a lot better.
It took me about 3 months being on comp, and I was sleeping nice. I was sleeping good, but I didn't have 25 years in.
Yeah, and me working for a different department, and I've had to. We've been talking about sleep and like biohacking and health, and we actually talked about sleep on this episode.
He bought like grounding sheets recently.
I've been looking into the fact. Firefighter Josh, his swears up and down by the grounding.
He likes to do that.
It's been 90 days now with my wife who's a nurse, myself. I have another captain, Brian. Brian raves about him. We both have one at work, and we have one at home.
Mm-hmm.
And then we have a law enforcement officer coming on, and he'll next week
Probably talk about it again.
he'll probably talk about it again. So because I know he's been having good experiences with it. And then my chief at work is the one who told me about it, and he swears by him. But yeah,
So do you swear by it?
oh yeah,
Okay.
yeah, 100%. And they are more costly. I think I said for the station Twin XL and a Cal King, what came out to like $350 total,
Right.
just for the fitted sheet.
Yeah, but if you're getting better sleep, it's priceless.
Yeah.
I would have been all over that if I'd have known about it when I was suffering from my sleep issues.
I mean, for any of the firefighters that ask me, because like that's one thing is like firefighters sleep always just sucks.
Yeah.
Most of the time, especially if you're at a busy house, and you want the best quality sleep. So I always that's just something that you should pass along to like everybody. Is like, dude, just you make money. Like go spend $200 on some
sure.
sheets.
Oh yeah, I would have been all over. I'm still thinking about doing it.
Just do it. Just pull the trigger. Like it's honestly
Send it.
That's what I mean.
If you want to sponsor us, you know.
I didn't even say it. I didn't even say
I
a
don't know what
brand.
company is, but
They have a bunch of different ones out there. But yeah, hit me up after. I'll tell you which one I use,
Excellent.
and then I'm not gonna just say who it is.
it's a price on that. I know.
There's a price on that. I'm just kidding. It's Grounding Co. I don't know of any other ones. I didn't look up at all.
Was sleep the hardest part of the job for you, especially towards the end, or was there other stuff that was tough to adjust to or deal with? Or
I think sleep was the hardest part, for sure. I mean, obviously that's why that's the reason I left. And, you know, it was hard to leave because I loved my crew. I loved the guys I work with.
Yeah.
I liked working for my hometown. I like my job. But it's funny, like, I look back and it was weird. It's like, you know, when you get hired in the fire department, you're there for the fires. You're not there for the EMS.
Yeah.
But for me, it kind of flipped towards, at the end of my career, I was really enjoying the EMS. Call me crazy. I don't know. I just felt like I kept getting better at it. You know, I didn't want to do that when I got hired. I wasn't there for the EMS.
And did you appreciate the actual hands-on? You're actually helping someone
I
right
appreciated
there.
the hands-on. I liked that I worked with an efficient crew, you know, that we were providing good care for, you know, the citizens in the town that I lived in.
Yeah.
But I'd seen it and done it all with fires. And, you know, I was concerned about carcinogens. You don't think about those things, you know? I mean, I didn't until I started getting closer to 50.
Yeah.
You know, it's like, I want to get out of this career and enjoy my retirement.
For sure.
So I was feeling down about going on fires. I'd wake up at night, you know, it sounds terrible to say. I'd be like, oh, I don't want to go to a fire, you know, where it used to be, that's all I lived for.
Yeah.
So it had changed.
I don't think you're the only one that feels that way. I think there's a lot of people like in my department, you rotate, right? You don't have to be on the A rig or B rig anymore. You can go to different things. You can go to camp. You can go to the EZC.
Prevention, whatever.
Yeah, whatever you want to do. And like some people will finish off their careers in one of those maybe just low frequency of high risk events.
Carcinogen heavy.
Yeah, I mean, you have more if you're working with like inmates or something. Obviously, that's like maybe a higher risk. But really, we haven't had that many issues with inmates in a while. But the people will go there and they will say like either family time, they want better hours, or they'll say that they don't want to run fires anymore.
Yeah.
So I don't think you're the only one to feel that way, especially closer to retirement. But
no, you know, I drink coffee with that big fire group, and that's not an uncommon mode of thought, you know, and I hear that a lot, actually.
It's a big change in the fire service too. It's just that realization of the carcinogen risk and what that provides or exposes us to, and trying to minimize that. That's a huge change. That's
right. I mean, even since I've left, I'm hearing about what the departments are doing now that are, you know, with turnouts and with SCBA bottles and getting them out of the cab. And, you know, back in my day, we were sleeping with our turnouts, you know, right next to our head.
The boots right there at the bed.
And then I was reserved there, you know, they're in my house.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
So,
yeah. As a volunteer, I mean, I don't think I ever brought them inside, but
people brought
in
them
the garage for sure.
in the house?
Yeah.
No. Never brought it inside, but yeah, they would be in the garage, especially when we had the on-call truck.
Exactly. In the cab of the truck.
But how about when you okay, so how about when you go on a fire of any sort, and then when you come home, like we weren't at I take showers now at the station, but when you're volunteering,
I was a volunteer. Yeah,
I wasn't taking showers at the station. I would just come in, get in my vehicle. Even though I didn't have my turnout bottoms on anymore, you don't think that stuff got onto your clothes underneath? Get in your vehicle. Now it's all in your vehicle. Now you bring your family in your vehicle. Then you come home and you got to make your way to the shower. And I'm sure you didn't go straight to the shower. That stuff's everywhere.
Oh yeah,
for sure.
You'd smell it on yourself for
sure.
Oh yeah.
3 showers.
At least.
Yeah.
Yeah. No. Yeah. I guess I have thought about it more, and you just kind of brought it to perspective.
Burn City. I want to go to all the fires still.
Well, you know,
let it burn.
I like going to like veg fires and stuff like that. So I mean,
no,
maybe it's a little cleaner.
I show up now and I take pictures. At the
I've
fires.
seen you take some really good photos too.
I'm, I guess, technically, unofficially, still the photography guy until someone takes it away from me. So
no, why would they take it away?
I still have my the app.
Yeah,
I still get the notifications. I still run to the calls.
Good.
And I get to hang out with the guys. I get to take pictures, and I get to go home. I don't got to put no hose away. I don't got to wear turnouts.
Rolling hose.
If it's hot, I'm there for 10 minutes, and I leave. You know.
So do you have
that's awesome.
Do you have a photography page also, or do you just send them to the city?
I share them with our social media guy, and he shares them. And they've been picked up. My pictures have been picked up by some of the other, I don't know, shared by bigger departments and other famous photographers.
So Bay Area Firefighters,
like Bay Area,
Instagram and stuff like that.
Yeah. So there was a fire down on Crane Avenue last year, and I just happened to be up at 6 a.m. I was there right when the first engine got there, and I got a buttload of good pictures.
Yeah.
So those were the ones that got kind of widely shared. But no, I share mine. I put mine on Flickr, the photo site Flickr. I've been a Flickr guy for, I don't know, 15 years now. So
nice.
I put them on there. You know, I don't promote myself enough, but it's just for fun.
That's cool. I've seen your photos. Very good.
Thanks.
Yeah, they're really good.
Yeah, I've been encouraging. My wife does photography in general.
photos,
Yeah,
right?
stuff like that. And like I feel like I had to do the same thing. I like encourage her. I'm like, okay, you need to have an Instagram page so that people can see your work. That's why I'm asking you. Like,
I think Instagram's the way to go. We were in the city for the parade, I don't know, 8 or 9 years ago, and I saw a photographer on the street. I started talking to her, and she had an Instagram page. I've been following her stuff for years, and she's like, "Well, where do you show your?" I said, "Flickr." She's like, she kind of looked down on me a little bit.
Old school.
It is,
You still read the newspaper too? There?
I
Jeez,
do.
come on.
I do. Yeah, it comes to my house.
no, you should start an Instagram. And like,
Yeah,
just for
for
fun,
sure.
you're already going to have to start at least 2 Instagrams for both of these
I have
podcasts.
already started them.
Okay.
Yeah, I do share some of my better ones, but
Yeah.
I need to share more.
Yeah, that's cool. I mean, is that your one of your main hobbies in retirement, or do you have other hobbies as well?
Hiking, photography.
Where do you go hike?
Well, I mean, we live in the shadow of Yosemite.
Yeah, for sure.
I mean, I can't believe I still meet people who've never been to Yosemite. It's
Yeah.
like, that's crazy to me. So I go there whenever I can and hike. I've done Half Dome a couple times, which sucks. Don't do it. I don't recommend it.
But you've done it more than once?
Well, I did it first
What?
time just because I needed to do it, and then I did it the second time because a buddy wanted to do it, and
Yeah.
I didn't want to let him down. But at this point, it's like take a trail where you can look at Half Dome while you're hiking, not beyond Half Dome where you can't see it.
That's fair.
No,
That's fair.
I like more scenic single track trails, walking in the shade. But Yosemite's got some great ones. Taft Point, that's my favorite.
Taft Point.
Yeah, have you ever been up there?
No, I don't think so.
Glacier Point, there's a road, Glacier Point Road,
Yeah.
goes up to dead ends at we're looking at Half Dome. There's a trail called Taft Point Fissures, and you're walking on these huge cracks, that you look down and it's thousands of feet down.
Yeah.
It's wild.
What was that? 127 hours? That movie? We got stuck between the.
Yeah. Well, there are people that will climb down in those fissures.
That's crazy.
And stand on these rocks that are wedged down in the fissures.
That's
But
wild.
I know. No, I'm not doing that.
That's cool though.
Hiking, photography, podcasting, travel.
Like to travel. I'm an old dad, quote unquote.
Mm-hmm.
So now that my kids are old enough, we've been traveling. Did Scotland last year. Best trip I ever took. Just amazing. Highly recommend it.
Nice.
I want to live there.
Really?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I've been to Europe, I don't know, 6 or 7 times. Been all over. But Scotland was number 1 for sure.
Oh, that's awesome.
Did you hike Arthur's Seat? It's a little tiny hike.
No, I did not. The next time I go, I'm going to. My son and I talked about we turned around on the bus right there. We said, "Oh, we got to hike up there." And we were just so busy. We never. I felt like I walked 100 miles on that trip though.
So my wife and I hiked that, and it was kind of like sprinkling raining. So we hiked it, and then we got all the way to the top, and I was like, I wanted to propose, and so there's way too many people. When you go and hike that, like you think what you see on Instagram or whatever it's not reality. There was tons of people. So it was like raining, the rocks were slippery. So we came back down, and then there's like a meadow over to the left of the seat when you climb up, and there was nobody there. So we went there, set up a tripod in the rain because I want to take a picture because it overlooks the city.
Yeah.
And I proposed there.
Nice.
Yeah. So she thought we were taking a photo as a video.
Very cool.
I'll add it to the YouTube for
Yeah, send
the
it.
3 people that watch the YouTube version. Sam.
I want to
We
see
know
it.
you're watching Sam.
Yeah, I'll show you.
Yeah,
I'll show
I
you
wanna
for
see
sure.
it.
Yeah, so that's funny you brought up Scotland. Yeah, that was in Scotland. We did like a 3 days in London, 3 days in Scotland, and then we did a week-long road trip through Ireland.
Nice.
So Scotland was my favorite for sure. There's only one thing in London that I really liked, and that was we did a tour to Stonehenge. So that
I
was
did Stonehenge.
that was pretty cool. Did you do like the inner circle and you like get to get in there?
It was. I was 22 years. I was actually 22 years ago. I was still working. It was in 2003, and I don't remember what it was back then. I mean, we didn't go inside the stones.
Oh, no?
No, you
You're
can
not
only
supposed
go
to
on the
touch
out.
'em.
Only go on the outside. I saw the movies where everybody went on the inside, but that was before my time. So
Yeah, we got to go. It's the inner circle tour, so they actually
Oh.
take you inside the stones, and then
Yeah.
you get to like hang out in there. Yeah, you should do it again. It was pretty amazing. I would do it again for sure.
we went to the Roman baths.
Okay.
In the town of Bath. That was part of that same excursion.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
that was cool too.
Yeah, that was we enjoyed that too. Yeah,
That's awesome.
yeah. It was all.
In
I don't
fact,
know. The whole place is super cool.
I captured a ghost at the Roman baths.
Tell us.
Yeah, what?
Well, the best ghost I captured was in Scotland, but in the Roman baths, I was looking down, taking pictures in the water, getting the reflection of this cathedral.
Hmm.
And later on, weeks later, I'm at home, I'm looking at my photos, and I flipped the photo upside down. I did a 180 on it because I wanted to see how the cathedral looked right side up.
Yeah.
And then I realized there's this ghostly face right next to me in
That's
the reflection.
wild.
Yeah, like a really scary face.
That's wild.
Yeah, I still try to debunk that one.
You still have that photo?
I have it somewhere, yes.
Mm-hmm.
But
I was saying we get on the
If you get it to
Instagram, you
me.
can get it to us.
last thing about ghosts for now.
No, I
Oh,
love
yeah.
the ghost part.
We were in Scotland. I've been trying to capture ghosts for 30 years. I go everywhere I go. I take 1,000 pictures. I do video. I do audio on my phone. I was walking around the cemetery in Edinburgh, the Greyfriars Kirkyard. It's the one where everybody goes to. It's just right in the middle of town. It's this, hundreds of years old cemetery.
Mm-hmm.
I find a quiet place. I take out my phone. I'm letting it run. I'm asking questions. Anybody here? Want to tell me your name? I go back to our flat we were renting, put on my headphones. I'm listening, and a voice whispers, "Help."
No way.
I jumped up. I told my wife, I finally caught a ghost.
Bro, all these stories give me chills. I'm not like every one of them's like giving me chills.
I told, and my wife would kill me if I don't ask. So I told my wife to send me the orb video that we had a Ring camera in our garage for a while, and she made me take it down because, which I think she just sent it to me. She would see these orbs in the garage, and she swears it's a ghost. And I'll post it, but I want you to look at it because you are the guy.
You are the ghost guy.
Oh no, it's gonna look like crap. Okay.
You mean the dust orbs?
That's what I said.
That's the verdict you and I came up with.
I don't know if it even showed. I didn't even.
I saw
pre-watch
the
it.
one fly towards the camera.
Yeah, and then so that there's two separate videos. I'll show you the other one because they're on different days, and it's the same.
The same speck of dust goes through.
The same speck of dust. So then there's this
Press play on it.
this one.
Ooh, ghost stories today.
Two separate days. Basically the same thing happened.
Yeah, it looked like the same thing.
Yeah.
I mean, who knows? I mean, there's a whole school of thought of
She's convinced. Huh?
She's convinced.
orbs are cool, they're actual spirits, and then there's the whole train of thought is just dust and orbs are crap. So
Yeah.
I'm somewhere in the middle because I want to believe.
Well, that
but
orb got the camera removed. Okay. So
we went downtown, and I used to use my clout as a firefighter to go down in the upstairs in the old buildings in downtown Turlock.
Yeah.
Some of these, are untouched for 50, 60 years. And I took a ton of pictures, trying to capture ghosts, under the guise of pre-fire planning. And
Genius.
I got a lot of orbs, but I gotta say it was probably just dust,
Yeah.
old, different, old dusty rooms that we're walking in there and stirring up dust.
Yeah.
No one's walking around up there for years and years.
you hear that, babe? It's just dust.
It's just
You
dust.
can stop running out of the garage as fast as possible at night.
She still runs out and she changes laundry and just jams out of there.
She has to make sure she's inside when she shuts the light off. She's terrified of that garage, I think.
That's incredible.
It's so funny.
What were some of the biggest changes in your fire department you saw in your time from 89 to 2019?
The big one for us was going from 2.0 to 3.0 inch
Yeah.
companies, which I was exactly half and half. I was exactly
split you right in the middle, huh?
I got hired in 03, full time, and then we went to 3-man inch companies in 08.
Yeah.
So that was a big change. Before that, it was the reserve division. Was Turlock. That was remnants of what was started in 1907 with volunteers.
Yeah.
And that program was discontinued in 08. So, as a history guy, I look at that as like, wow, that ended and it was over. And then we were, full on, quote unquote, professional
Yeah.
fire department from that point. So that was the big one. Getting out of that mentality too, kind of that old school volunteer mentality.
Yeah.
And trying to be more professional.
Mhm.
Although Turlock always, in my mind, always kicked ass. Everybody got the job done. Everybody worked their asses off. So that was the big one.
Nice.
And then
That's-
we added. I got hired full time because we added the station 4. We added the 4th station.
Yeah.
So we went from 3 stations for the first, 4 years I worked there part time. I was a reserve. I slept on the engine every other night. I slept at the station every other night for almost 4 years.
Wow.
So that's why I consider that like real time.
Yeah.
I was actually there more.
As a volunteer.
As a volunteer.
Then-
they never gave you time off. It was, they threw a shit fit if you asked for a day off,
Yeah.
because you wanted to.
So what was your journey to become a full-time fireman? Because it's definitely different than ours. So
I joined just for fun. I had an uncle that was at Turlock Rural for 20 years, and I just got a desire all of a sudden one day to try it. 'Cause I don't know. I was 2 years out of high school. I didn't know what I was doing.
Mhm.
I was going to college, but I didn't know why. And I just decided, you know what? I'm going to join the fire department, but I want to join a different one than my uncle. I don't want to be known as, Roger's nephew,
Yeah.
even though, it would have been fun. So I saw the ad in the paper. I showed a couple friends, and we all joined together. And like I said, I was just doing it for fun. And then at the same time, I was in JC, taking drafting and architecture classes. I had a really lousy instructor. And then I just kept finding myself thinking about, I wish I was on the fire ground. Wish I was at the station. You know? And then, my roommate at the time had kind of run with it. And he was already like applying up and down the state. And, it was different back then. You had to do these interest cards. You had to put interest cards and send them out to all these departments.
Oh, really?
So he motivated me, and I tested all over. I just happened to get hired in my hometown, which was cool. I always wanted to be a hometown fireman. I grew up, I was a paper boy, and I'd be wrapping papers, in the 1980s. And there was always these articles about these long-time Turlock firefighters that were retiring after 30, 40, 50 years. And I would sit there and I would read, and I think, oh, these guys are cool.
Yeah.
Like these legendary names, And so to actually get to be kind of like one of those guys was part of my motivation.
Yeah.
And it was cool.
It worked out that way.
It worked out that way. And I feel like I had it easier. I feel like I had it easier than you guys did.
Really?
I feel like testing was easier. I mean, I don't know. This
is whoever
I feel like the opposite.
Yeah, I feel like
I don't know. We had a couple tough instructors.
Yeah.
But still, like, the level of comfort that we had, these days, you're on probation for a year. You don't sit in the recliner. It's yes or no, sir. Back then it was easy. We were already accepted
Right off the bat.
It didn't have that same feel.
Was it not competitive?
It was very competitive at the time. That kind of comes and goes where fire jobs are plentiful, then they're not, then they're plentiful. No, it was tough back then. There was hundreds of applicants for one job.
Because it got even tougher after 9/11.
After 9/11,
I'm sure
it
there's
did.
a big jump, yeah.
But no, I don't know. I look at myself and think I just got lucky. I did have a passion for wanting to work for Turlock Fire.
Yeah.
And I think I tried harder for my hometown department. And I was fortunate to work where I did. And I never wanted to go anywhere else.
How long did because you got hired as an engineer?
Yes, I did.
And then how long before you promoted to captain?
It was 10 years.
Okay.
I promoted to captain in 2003.
Who was your favorite captain to work for as an engineer?
I had some good ones. I was on C shift. I was on C shift for like 95% of the time I was there. And we had a really fun shift, kind of old timers. Dennis Fajita, that guy was a crack up, just intelligent, wild. We'd stay up till 3 a.m. just telling stories. I mean,
That's why you couldn't sleep.
I know, right? I wonder why I couldn't sleep.
And then I had Tim Lohman, who eventually became chief,
Yeah.
and he was just an all-around good guy, and I loved working with him. He was just so positive. And then there were other guys like Kurt Green that I was a little scared to work with, and because he seemed so gruff. But then you realize, oh, this guy's awesome. It doesn't make you do any busy work. He learn his rules and abide by his schedule, and everything's going to be great.
Nice.
And it was. So Fajita and Lohman were great. And then a guy Les Austin who became a battalion chief.
Okay.
He was a big mentor. He really, took me under his wing, and he would gently correct me and tell, you need to do things a little differently. And I was stubborn, but I realized he was right about all that stuff.
Oh, really?
So he was a good motivator.
Who still works with them that you're just like, I can't stand that guy?
Who works for Turlock Fire that I can't stand?
Yeah. Give me the tea on that one.
You're going to have to edit all this out.
What's funny
Mike.
was I always had this this goal to get along with everybody, just because of the job we did.
Yeah.
I didn't want any conflicts that were going to, negatively impact our quality of work.
Yeah.
But there were guys that I didn't like. They're not there anymore.
They're just personalities you just don't necessarily mess with.
There was one guy there. Oh, shoot, there was a couple guys. There was a guy named Gary, not Carlson. A guy named Gary that was been working there since the 70s, and he hated to be there. He was like a biker. He was not a fireman at all. He didn't do anything. The city was terrified of him. They wouldn't do anything, or he would threaten to sue, or I don't know. And he would corner guys and threaten to beat them up. Yeah,
Old school.
He cornered me one time. Yeah.
Wow.
And Loman pointed it out. He said, that's Gary. He's not really. He's got this innate sense of when you're at your most vulnerable, and that's when he'll attack.
Oh.
And that's exactly what happened to me.
You just had a skill for finding
And
that
then,
moment.
and I back down, and I look back, I think, why did I back down to that fucker? Fuck that guy, And he even did it to Loman, he caught him unawares, and Loman backed down, because he just knew, he was just
timed it perfect.
And when he left, everybody was so happy. There were guys that would plan their vacations around their 6 months they were scheduled to work with.
Oh, that's right, because you guys used to rotate. Against each other, right?
Against each other, yeah.
Yeah,
So
but
you'd have 6 months with somebody.
Don't you think that the reason why you back down is kind of like the whole mentality, like you love your job so much that you didn't want to lose your job? And that's the same thing when we could have interactions in the street. More than likely, if you're a civil servant, you're going to just back down because of people are going to film you, people are going to report you, whatever it is, and you're going to lose your job.
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
It's not worth it.
For whatever that is. So don't you think that's probably the reason why you would just back down from that? You're like, I don't want to lose my job.
Well, that was always the rule, is you fight, you can get fired. That was always that was always the rule. I mean, it's a little different. You're talking about cameras in the street now and all that. That wasn't as big of a thing for me as it is for you guys now.
Yeah.
So, I mean, on a different level.
Yeah.
Yeah. Now
Everything's filmed.
they'd rather film something than just help somebody.
Yeah,
right.
for sure.
That's the thing that drives me crazy.
I mean, that's how you get clicks. That's how everybody goes viral and stuff. They film it.
Why be a fireman when you can get famous on the internet?
Yeah.
Make more money.
I know.
No, I don't know if there's anybody there that I don't like right now. I mean, so many guys have left.
Since
I've been there.
I tried.
You're just trying to stir
I was going to stir it up.
One guy left since I retired. That was, he wasn't a lot of people's favorite. But,
oh, really?
I mean, I try to get along with them, but I won't hang out with them off duty.
That's fair. That's fair.
Yeah, I don't want to hang out with this guy right now.
We hang out for about an hour and 5 minutes a week, right here.
We hang out for a little longer than that.
No,
oh, man. Okay, so when are you dropping your first episode?
We're gonna try to get the first three recorded.
Yep.
According to my buddy, you got to release 3 right away.
At least 3, because
get people hooked.
95% of podcasts that fail, they never get past the 3rd episode.
So we're gonna put 3 together. I've got all the material I need.
nice.
It's just finding time. I got 3 school-age children.
Oh, yeah.
I live with 2 old ladies, my mom and my mother-in-law. There's 7 of us in a house.
You guys just bought a new place last year, right?
We did.
Yeah.
We bought a big old house, and there's 7 of us living there.
Mm-hmm.
So I feel like I'm taking care of everybody. My wife, she's the only breadwinner in the entire house.
Yeah.
So she goes to work, and I don't ask her to do anything. So I cook all the meals.
Nice.
I take all the kids to school, and then the weekend comes, and my kids, they're hogging the computer. So it's hard to find time. But with summer's coming, we've got 2 weeks, 2.5 weeks.
Yeah.
So hopefully within the next, I'll be honest, hopefully in the next 6 weeks.
Which one are you dropping? Which of the 2 podcasts?
Yeah.
It's probably going to be the Ghost Collector.
The Ghost one?
Yeah, that's the one I've been working on the longest.
Okay.
But, since we were talking Turlock tonight, I got to mention the Turlock one.
Yeah, of
too,
course.
so.
Of course.
No, Ghost Collector would be cool. I think.
We already follow you on Instagram, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah, so we'll be.
I've done a poor job at promoting myself so far, but I'm getting more and more followers to the coming soon
Yeah.
Instagram pages. So
yeah. And I got to remember with the it's just Ghost Collectors.
The Ghost Collector.
The Ghost Collector.
I am the Ghost Collector. Yeah, that's me.
you are. Yeah. And then have you started the other page for the Turlock one?
Just started. It's Turlock Unburied.
Okay. Yeah, we'll have to follow that one too, so I can keep so I can keep tabs on you.
I'm actually more excited about the Turlock Unburied one. Like I said, I like Turlock history. So
yeah, but people love ghost stories. Like my wife, my wife will be all on that. She's gonna love,
especially if it's local.
Yeah, if it's local,
it's gonna be extra creepy.
Well, a lot of them I can cross post. I can cross share on them because obviously the Turlock ghost stories could also be used on the Ghost Collector.
Yeah.
So,
yeah.
But
did you run into any other ghosts at any of the other stations?
Oh yeah.
Really?
Yeah, I think all of them.
He met them all.
Well, like I was just talking to a guy yesterday and about how this engine bay doors, open up in the middle of the night. It happened at Station 3. It happened at the old Station 1. Happened at Station 2.
Just open up for no reason.
We'd get up and the doors open at 3 a.m.
Yeah.
And great. Not only that, but someone could have just come off the street and murdered us.
Yeah, for sure, for sure.
But I heard some stories about Station 1. Mike, who we talked about.
Yeah.
Station 1 has the really loud toilets.
It does have the
So a lot of guys, guys like me that grew up with a dad that worked all night, we tiptoe around the house. I would tiptoe out to the museum bathroom.
The far bathroom.
Because it's just not as loud. You can't hear that.
And it's away from everybody.
It hurt my ears. Those toilets were so loud. And the decibel level was insane.
And the fans have been loud since they went in, I'm assuming.
So Mike had a story. He went out to use that museum bathroom.
Yeah.
He walked out of the toilet. He looked up onto the 1922 pumper we have, which is called the Frog, and he saw the ghost of an old-time fireman standing up on the engine, like performing some maneuver, like he was mechanically doing something on the pumper, like, moving up and down, almost like he was.
Really?
Yeah. So he saw that, swears to God that's what he saw.
Yeah.
And then I heard a story from a secondhand story that a battalion chief had one of the bedroom lights. He woke up and the slider was moving up by itself on the bedroom light.
He watched it slide up.
Yeah. I need to reach out to him directly and confirm that story. But and then there was a weird last thing about that station. There was a weird story about when the tower there was a water tower there originally built in 1910, and a guy fell off and died.
Oh,
he
wow!
Fell from 110 feet. Somehow a story got started in the new station that it was being haunted by that person who fell down. I know that's a long stretch. We were doing something with AMR there. I don't remember there was an AMR paramedic, and she was they were doing pre-physical or taking blood pressures or something, and she swore up and down she heard someone whispering in her ear and say something about a water tower.
Really?
Yeah. So
without any pre-knowledge of
without
anything.
any pre-knowledge, yeah.
Yeah, somebody's whispering water tower to me.
Yeah. And then there was a guy there, Matt Selheimer at the time. He was one of my favorite persons I ever met. He was there when that happened, and he heard from her, and so he kind of spread that story about, it must be the water tower ghost. So probably not, but makes for a cool story.
I mean, it might be.
They're all cool stories.
They're all great stories.
Yeah. I think you're going to be very successful. You just got to promote yourself.
Yeah. That's the thing I got to get over. It's weird. I had this conversation with somebody the other day about promoting myself. After, working in the limelight, a job where you're in the limelight for 30 years. When you're working, everybody's looking at you. You're driving the engine around, everybody's looking at you. You're at work, you're fighting a fire, you're being looked at.
Grocery shopping, whatever it is.
Grocery shopping. I got tired of being looked at, when I was brand new, I thought it was cool, but by the time I retired, I was like, I want to retire. I don't want anybody looking at me anymore. Yeah. I want to be anonymous. So I have to turn around and promote myself.
Transition back into it.
It's kind of tough, but I got to get over it. So.
Yeah.
No, it is hard. It's hard on, like, I don't know all the algorithms and how everything works. And like, we're on TikTok and Instagram, and I'm trying to post, but you get burnt out, and like, you got to come up with these ideas. That's why it's like, if you have a marketing manager and you can spend that money, then I think that's probably one of the first things you should do. We're just too poor to be wanting to do that. And we're just like doing this. This is the whole thing is to be fun and a hobby. Yeah. Since, most
the schedule.
Most people are off 4 days a week. So, I mean, I don't like, I can only work out so many times in a day.
Right. Yeah.
And we really enjoy it. Like, I think the big thing is just patience, I think, so far. And then staying on top of like social media for sure.
That's my big concern.
Being able to post and stuff.
Is being able to stay with it and and do all the social media that I need to do.
I attempt for 3 times a week. And then when I follow other fire memes pages and stuff, and I'll post on our story, right? Because I'll repost theirs, and obviously it still has them tagged, and they watch it and they'll like it, and so I'm just trying anything and everything. I don't know if someone out there knows what they're doing, works at MJC and is trying to get a marketing job. Come over here per diem.
I know a guy that used to be a marketing guy, so I might bug him. You know, right now it's a passion project.
Yeah.
But if if it goes somewhere, that would be cool too. But if not, at least I tried.
Yeah, I think
for sure.
I think if what you're putting out there is like authentic, and I think you'll find your audience. It just takes a while. Like some people have that I go and seek the information. They're like, no, it took like people said a year. Some people said like 3 years. Some people said it just never happened, but they just keep doing it. So they said that if you're putting authentic material out there, then your audience kind of finds you eventually.
That's what I would hope. I see these other paranormal podcasts where it's just a dude reading Reddit stories, and he's got tens of thousands of followers, and I'm like, really? I could do a lot better than that
with no involvement in
with
anything,
nothing,
or
just reading stories on Reddit,
right off of Reddit.
Man, that guy's voice has got to be awesome,
right?
No, it's not.
Something's got to be there.
It's not
that great. No, that's pretty cool. Yeah, I mean, we'd like to have you come on, especially once you get it rolling and everything.
Great.
And then that way we can tag some episodes.
Absolutely.
And then I don't really have too many ghost stories, but
well, that's the other thing.
I only have one.
That's the other thing. If you have them, or you said your wife has them. I want those stories. So tell friends of friends. I'll take even, they don't have to be 20, 30-minute stories. They could be a 2-minute story.
Yeah.
I know Aubrey's got a couple from home.
And then I know my friend Christy, her whole family, Asian culture is really big on spirits.
Yeah.
And I'm sure she has a ton.
She'll have a whole hour's worth to hang out with you and talk about.
She'll talk your ear off.
I saw her yesterday. Did I tell you that?
No.
Yeah, I went over to old Staley's Club.
Oh yeah.
Mm-hmm.
No, but yeah, I have a couple people, and I probably have some. I know I have one captain that both of us worked with that there's a haunted station, haunted Cal Fire station.
Oh really?
Well, that's the other thing. I've heard about a lot of haunted fire stations.
Yeah, and not just creepy. Place. There's a lot of creepy stations, but no,
straight up haunted.
Myers.
Oh yeah.
Yeah, he somewhere in NEU, I think. There's a super haunted station that I'll find out for you, because there's got to be guys there that have tons of stories.
Sorry, what's NEU?
Nevada U of Placer.
So it's one of the Cal Fire units.
It's one of the Cal Fire units. So up north, kind of like Sacramento area.
Okay, you're pointing that way, and I was.
Which way am I pointing?
I was
thinking
sense
of the one in the town of Raymond. I think it's a Cal Fire station. That's a really famous haunted station. So.
I believe so. Yeah.
I went looking for it once, but I couldn't find it.
No,
it's out in the middle of nowhere.
I know some guys over there.
What I really want is to get into Stevenson's.
Okay.
Anybody who works for Stevenson?
I can figure it out.
I heard some stories.
Really?
Yeah.
Huh.
Tim Huber, guy I work with, he worked there when back was single man stations.
Yeah. Well, I do know a chief.
Put you in contact.
Current chief right now that was a single out of Stevenson, I think. I'm not really sure.
I know what you're talking about.
Yeah, you know.
I know what you're talking about.
I heard a fantastic story from that station. So
really,
yeah,
yeah. I actually do know a couple people I could probably put you in contact with.
Okay,
but especially if it's MMU, anything over there, and then and I'll find out the one. Am I pointing the right direction now?
You are the worst with directions.
So bad, yeah. Directions, math. I don't even know how I have a job, honestly.
GPS. That's how you have a job.
I have a smartphone. It just tells me what to do.
They used to make us drive around on our days off and know the
map
streets.
books and all that.
That was a big thing. Like
I had to do a streets test for my promotion.
Okay, well, when I was a seasonal firefighter, it was like a new town. I had to I drove around on my off day to figure out the roads.
Figuring out some of the main throwaways and stuff.
Yeah, but
Not
I would
anymore,
tell you
dude.
right now, I can tell you where I was working. I can still remember the streets from doing that.
Yeah, it was really the guys that were from out of town that got hired here that really had to do that. I knew them already from living here.
Yeah.
So
yeah,
for the most part.
For the most part, there's always that one street you go down. You're like, oh my gosh, I've never in my entire life been here, and then you go on a call and you're like, wow, I didn't know the street existed.
How about in here?
This neighborhood?
I used to work in.
This is a hidden little area.
It is.
Yeah.
It is.
So I used to work at Applebee's and used to live over on the other side of town. And so I would come up this way. I pass it all the time. I never knew there were homes.
This
over here.
this is a hidden neighborhood. Yeah. There's a couple like this. This is one of them.
Yeah, for sure.
Yeah.
One way in, one way out.
One way. Yeah.
We know if you came through here too.
Yeah.
I've never seen that car before.
Yeah. I know. I recognize all the cars. But
Yep.
somebody's having a party because I don't recognize like 13 cars.
There's always been a lot of cars in this neighborhood.
Oh
Yeah.
Back when I was working in the 90s, a guy I worked with, he had a couple of girlfriends that lived like almost right across the street over here. So we'd roll in here he'd run in and say hi
Say
or
what's up.
something. So yeah, that's
run in to say hi for
that's
15
mainly why I
minutes.
know this neighborhood. And I always remember, man, there's no parking in here.
No, there's not.
No.
That's why I told you park in the driveway.
Yeah. Drive on the other side because I live on the other side, and you'll notice there's way less cars.
Yeah, there's more parking on that side.
But my neighbor that lives right behind me, super cool dude. He has 11 vehicles. Single dude lives in that house.
Most of them are on the property. There's a few on the street, obviously.
yeah.
But a lot of them are on the property.
On the corner over there. 11
impressive.
vehicles, single dude.
What street? Oh, you're not
Just right down, literally right down.
Yeah.
Okay.
Straight this way.
You're pointing that way, and I have
It is actually that way.
I have a friend that lives that way who probably has 11 vehicles, but it's a different.
No, it's in
It's
this
another
circle.
neighborhood over.
Oh,
yeah.
okay.
Oh, yeah. No. In this circle, there are 11 vehicles.
Yeah. He's got, okay, to be fair, he's got the same truck in all 4 generations. I'm not getting
So he's a
awesome.
collector.
Yeah. He's got a ton of Chevy stuff.
Yeah, okay. Whatever. He works on them, so
He does.
most of them are not just sitting there rotting.
Yeah.
But he has to on Sundays, he'll start every single one of them individually, and I'm pretty sure he can't really drive them on the street because all the tags are expired. So he just drives it around the block a couple times.
Got to keep
so
him
that
healthy.
he can run it.
Keep him
And
healthy.
He just does it once a weekend or every other weekend he'll do it.
He'll drive each generation of his Chevy Silverado to work.
You got to go look.
Yeah.
It's pretty
Yeah.
bad. Yeah. That's why my wife wants to move over into MMU and stuff like that in that area.
Somewhere out in the sticks a little bit.
In the sticks, but you can't afford fire insurance. So I don't know how that's going to go.
right now.
Right? Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
We have a cabin. It's crazy.
Where's your cabin at?
Twain Hart.
Okay.
Yeah.
Oh yeah.
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 I don't know that we're going to pay for the fire insurance this year.
It's a great area.
I haven't got the numbers yet, but
It's beautiful up there.
if I'm hearing what I'm hearing.
Well, yeah, because even my homeowner's insurance went up down here.
I'm hearing that on the news yesterday.
They sent out 3 emails. They sent for my. They said the first email to smooth the blow. They're like, "Oh, your umbrella insurance is going down," and I was like, "Oh yeah, cool. I saved $10." Vehicle insurance, haven't been in an accident in a decade.
Tickets.
I haven't ever been in an accident that was my fault. Our vehicle insurance went up $75 or $80 a month.
Ouch.
And then the mortgage or homeowner's insurance went up $120.
Yeah.
Why?
It's called LA Fires.
Yeah, LA fires.
Yeah, so I can only imagine because from what I heard, it was always like $500 a month supplemental for a lot of these places in the high fire danger area.
Yeah.
So $6,000 a year.
Double.
I've heard ranges between $6,000 and $10,000 a year depending on where you live.
Yeah.
And I can just imagine that you're either not because what is it that you have to go under? It's California.
You have to get 2 plans.
You have to get 2
the
plans.
Cal Fair,
plan,
which is for fire, and then you have to get the rest.
A regular insurance.
So basically, regular insurance be like, yes, if the fire starts inside your house and spreads outside, we'll cover it, but not if it's
Vice versa.
Right.
it was outside to come inside. Yeah, so
Crazy.
Yeah, so ours went from 800. It's currently last year it was almost 6,000, and
Just for the fire side of it.
no, that was for everything.
Oh, okay,
That was
okay.
basically the 2 policies together.
So you're thinking it's going to be closer to 8 at
Oof,
least.
yeah,
Almost.
You'd probably be happy if it stops at 8.
yeah,
It's in
yeah.
the-
I'm worried that's going to be 10.
I think it's going to go up this year, and then it's going to go up. It's going to go up multiple times. Have you seen the grass?
Yeah, I know.
Have you? When was the last time you went to Yosemite? Because you would definitely see it on the way. It's going to be.
I was there in February, so
Okay, it's been a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's already dried
Still
out.
green, then.
We just got I don't know what the final acreage was, but it was 30 acres is what our initial report was
Nice.
already today in May. 30
Nice.
acres. And
yeah,
it's going to be rough.
It's going to be fun.
starting. Yeah,
It's going to be rough.
yeah. I always worry that Twain Hart's going to be another paradise. It's
Yeah. I hope not.
It's a little
That place is
scary.
beautiful.
It's a little scary. Yeah, it is beautiful. We love it.
It's a great area.
Yeah, I want to live there full time.
Yeah.
Yeah, soon.
Soon and very soon.
Yeah. My kids get out of the house.
How much longer do you have?
Well, my youngest is 11.
11,
So we got
okay.
another 7 years.
Yeah.
Yeah, you might want to add a few more years to that.
Right. Yeah, there's a lot of variables.
Yeah, no doubt. And you're old. How old is your oldest?
17.
So is she going to be a senior this year, or she's graduating?
He's a junior.
Yeah. Gotcha.
Yeah.
He's going to be mad at me because I said she.
Nah, it's okay.
He's going to listen to this and he's like, that guy, I don't know who he is, but he called me a
I
she.
think I can change it on there. I can
They
make it
probably
so.
won't.
Can you?
Yeah.
They probably won't listen to it.
That's
I'll
cool.
make them listen to it in the
You'll
car.
have a senior this year and then 11 going into junior high?
I've got a 14-year-old who's going to be a freshman next year. So I got 3 boys. So
Okay.
and then my 5th grader's going into 6th grade, which is middle
Sixth
school,
grade.
which
Gotcha.
is junior high for Spanish-speaking kids.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah.
Nice.
Wow.
Yeah, all my kids can walk to school for the first time in my life.
Yeah.
Are they gonna walk?
I've been driving across town to take them to the Spanish immersion. Well, the oldest and the youngest for like 13 years now.
Oh, okay.
I am sick of driving back and forth across town every day,
I
twice
don't-
a day.
I don't blame you.
I am sick of it. I only got
blame you
2.5
at all.
more weeks. It's
Yeah.
done.
They'll be close enough now where they can do that, huh?
Yeah, each school was literally 2 blocks away. So
Oh, yeah.
yeah, high school's in the front and junior high's in the back.
Yep. Very nice.
Few more
That'll be
years. Get down, get busy, get your podcast.
Yeah, we wanna
going.
listen.
We want to listen.
It is. I am moving. I've been dragging my
will-
feet, but it is moving forward.
I edit,
Good.
so I have to listen to it. I listen at 1.25 speed, just
Oh, yeah.
so I can edit here, whatever I need. There's minimal edits usually, but I have to re-listen to it that way. I need a podcast that I can just listen to and not be editing and looking for like multiple mistakes. So get yours out so I
Yeah.
can hear these local stories.
Excellent. Yeah, looking
First
forward to sharing.
aspiring podcaster on the
I know.
podcast that we've had.
Really?
Yeah. No one else. All right. No one else has one that we've.
No,
interviewed.
we've
I
had-
thought everybody had a podcast these days.
It feels like it.
Yeah. We've
No.
just-
Yeah. First one that has mentioned the podcast. So
Nice.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Super
I hope it flies.
Hope to hear it soon.
Yeah, I hope it gains some traction.
Yeah. Well, thanks for coming on.
Hey, thanks for having
It was
me.
nice to have a retired guy come on, and
Yeah.
And
I
tell us
know,
how
I know
happy
that
you are.
I know the guys are gonna want to listen to this one for sure. I'm gonna promote this one pretty hard. And they're like, yeah, we'll listen to that one. That's cool. So,
Good.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on.
Hey, thank you very much.
All right.
All right. Later.